All right, this section's got a big section coming up here. So absolute value equations and inequalities. So sentences involving absolute value, and we're going to write just a generic one here real quick. The absolute value of x is equal to 3. And so just I'm sure you've remember these, but here we go. Just in case, the values that x could be are either negative or positive, but the absolute value bracket, and it's actually a type of parentheses, will make x positive. And it doesn't make it the opposite, just makes it positive. So if the value inside of here is negative, then it has to be equal to negative 3. So we'd have x is equal to negative 3. And if the value inside here is positive, then that value has to be equal to positive 3. So we end up with x equals 3. Now sometimes we'll have further work we need to do. These ones both ended right here. We've got x equals negative 3 and 3. But sometimes you'll have other things inside of the absolute value that you'll need to work through first. If there's anything on the outside, like let's say it was 2x plus 5 or something, then you need to get rid of all the stuff on the outside. So subtract 5, which actually would give us a problem that was unsolvable, had no solutions, because we'd end up equal to a negative number, which an absolute value couldn't be equal to negative. But so instead, let's say it was minus 5. You'd add 5 to each side, then divide by 2. We can't distribute into an absolute value because remember there's two solutions down in here, and so when you distribute, you're actually distributing into both of those, and it just doesn't work out. But once you got down to just the absolute value, then you split it up into both your negative and positive possibilities. So just more generically here for the rest of this table here, we've got that the absolute value of x is equal to c. And absolute value is usually used for distance. In class, you may hear me talking about how if you run backwards, you don't get out of shape, and if you drive your car backwards, it doesn't fill up with gas. There's no way to make distance negative, but distance is always a positive thing. So how far is something to 0 specifically? So we've got, if you're going to graph this out, got a number line, we've got 0, and one solution is going to be c. So let's pretend it's like 3 over there. So there's c. However, as you can see, there's also the opposite of that, negative c. And so both of those 2 points are solutions on your graph. All right. On to the next one. The absolute value of x is less than c. So here we'd have, if it was the absolute value of x is less than 3, we'd have, let's change these inequalities, because if it's positive, everything stays the same, so x can be less than 3. However, if it's negative, we're basically multiplying both sides by a negative 1 and making that negative number a positive, and so we end up with x is greater than negative 3. And let's check this graph out. So we've got 0, and if it's c, then we'd have less than c, so open circle, and shading to the left, shading towards the negative numbers. And over here we'd have negative c, open circle, and shading to the right. And so we'd have this intersection here, and this would be an AND situation where we're looking for both to be true, where they overlap. Okay, and so numbers that would be in here, if it was absolute value of x is less than 3, numbers in here would be like 2. 2 is the absolute value of 2 is 2, and 2 is less than 3. 4 wouldn't work because absolute value of 4 is 4, and that's less than 3, so 4 would be outside of it. Same thing if we were doing negative 4. The absolute value of negative 4 becomes positive 4, and that would be greater than 3, not less than. So sometimes you may hear, this was new to me, and I do want you to have the understanding behind it, but if it's a less than, they were calling it less than. And if that helps you remember, that's great, but we do need to make sure we also have the mathematical understanding behind that. Next is our OR situation, where now we're looking for numbers that are greater than 3 or greater than c in this situation. So if x is positive, then we have x is greater than 3. So let's graph that. Here's 0. Here's our c, which if it was 3, now these numbers would be looking for our greater than 3. On the other side, if x was a negative value, then we would set it equal to -3, which would be multiplied by that -1. And so now we're looking for numbers that are less than -3, or here, -c. And these ones are going away, and these are or. So now all the numbers that were solutions in the middle before, now are not. Now we're looking for where it's a solution on either side. There's no overlapping. It's just where anything's true, the or situation. And again, this was new to me, and if it helps you remember that's a good thing. But though we do want to have the mathematical understanding behind it. But they talked about this as being greater. So greater. When you saw that greater, you knew it was going or. It was going opposite direction. So if that helps you, excellent. I'm going to go ahead and pause here. This video is getting a little long as it is. And come back and attack this next section. All right.